Yeah, it is another episode of the Autumn Windbags. RJ Clifford, Juan Soto. Let's have some fun today. Special Sunday post NFL Draft 2023 edition. It feels like a post game show, kind of, right? Like we normally do like our regular shows, and then on Sundays we have our post game. Feels like that a little bit, right? Feels like
a lot happened, man. A lot happened. We learned a lot too.
Mm-hmm. Draft is over. We went in with 12 picks, walked away with 9 players, 4 trades, all of them up. I was hoping for trade downs, but it was all trade up. So we ended up with 9 players instead of 12. All in all, 6 defense, 3 offense, and kind of a smattering of everything, Soto.
Yeah, it's when you look at a draft, really, you want to look at 3 things, right? You want to look at are they a need, right? Do you need this player, right? How do they fit in your team, in your scheme, what you run, how you fit to what you want to do? And are they at the right value position? Are you reaching for these guys? Are you getting them in the right spots? Are you getting someone that falls down to you? And I think we saw all 3.
Question of the day. We'll have it pinned in the comment section. What grade do you give the 2023 Raiders draft class? Very curious what you guys think. I think we did a really good job. There were some ups, there were some downs. I think more ups than downs. I think at the biggest elements we did pretty well, but I think a lot of secondary things I wanted we didn't do well, which we'll get through as the show goes on. But I think we nailed pick number 1. I think the biggest thing we did was we maximized value. I don't think there was very few what felt like reaches. Even when we traded up, there was very few like, dude, we could have got this guy around later, or like, man, there's like 5 other guys at that position just as good. Why do we move at round 3 when we could, there's very, very little of that. And that's the number one thing I care about, right? What do I always constantly preach?
Value.
Players are crapshoots, man. Like these scouts and GMs, like the reason they have jobs and 6-7-figure salaries is because they've convinced their bosses that they're great at what they do. And a lot of them are, right? You're just trying to be, you're trying to bat 600 instead of 400, right? You're just trying to be as much above 50-50 as you can, right? It's a crapshoot. What isn't a crapshoot is value and rookie contracts, right? We went defensive end round 1. An expensive position that you want on rookie deals, right? If you have the 7th overall pick, you almost have to go quarterback and defensive end, right? Expensive position to make that pick worth it, right? So that was my number 1 thing, and we crushed that, which I'm very happy about. So
look,
I would go B.
Mm-hmm.
B. And I'll get into the knocks briefly.
Yeah, I would do B plus because I would do B plus.
Okay.
The main reason why is they were positions of need, they fit, and the value, maybe in 2 cases the value was a little bit shaky, but other than that, the value was there every single time we chose.
Yeah. A ton of value at round 1, a ton of value round 2 with the tight end.
Guys, we'll get into it a little bit later, but
yeah,
I don't know that we understand how good of a prospect Michael Mayer is at tight end.
And specifically in McDaniel's type system too.
Correct.
The type of tight end he was.
And we'll get into that. But the thing is overall prospect, he does everything plus.
Mm-hmm.
Is he super fast? No, but he's fast enough. You didn't see a lot of people tackling Gronk from behind. He got a lot of touchdowns. They're the same speed. They're about the same height.
Yeah.
Blocker, route runner, intelligence. Like this guy checks all the boxes. I don't think we've seen a draft prospect like him since Kyle Pitts has come out. Look, these guys, like these Kincaids and Laportas and Kuntzes and all these guys are glorified slot receivers, okay? Yeah. They're not a true tight end the way this system needs a tight end. They're not that. He is.
He can block. He can block. Yeah. He can do a lot.
And he wants to. He likes it.
So the knocks that I would give, and again, the number one thing I go almost A plus, definitely A when it comes to just like value per position. Byron Young, a little bit of a reach, a little bit, but
Better range, probably, yeah.
Other than that, it was basically like, okay, yeah, like this we got this guy at a good spot, right? The knocks for me are a lot of offense in the top 4 rounds. You want a lot of offense, right? Like 6 defense, 3 offense, but there was a lot of like defense was like a lot on the tail end, right? I thought we were 12 picks. Let's get like 9 defenders, right? Let's throw some bodies in there, try to get this. That wasn't great. And a lot of trading up. I wanted bodies. I wanted value. I want like, let's shotgun approach it, get a lot of bodies out there. And we traded up 4 times, not down once. So those are the 2 biggest knocks for me. And I have a million little like goods and bads, but of the big 3 things I was thinking of, most important value crushed. 2 and 3 positionally, I like to see more defense and more trading down, and we did opposite of that. So that's generally 80% of how I viewed the draft was those 3 things.
Yeah. So the thing that I don't mind taking a cornerback a little bit later because there were so many, right? I don't mind taking a linebacker a little bit later because the linebacker that we got actually, it's kind of a prototype Patrick Graham linebacker. Yeah. So when you take a look at it as a whole, when you take a step back and you take a look at it as a whole, was there? You can argue specific players. If you're an argumentative person, you can argue specific players until the cows come home, right? But the thing is, we don't know. Up until probably like into the 3rd season, are we really going to see what these players are going to be? Because then they get, on a good weight program, a good nutrition program. Are they hard workers? Are they being coached up? Are they being maximized? Stuff like that. Into the 3rd season where they're going to kind of get the trust of the players and the coaches and all that. That's where we see it. But what you can not argue is the positions of need, right? Even the quarterback. We need a young backup quarterback that fits this scheme, that fits what Josh McDaniels wants to do. Hoyer ain't it long-term. Right?
Hoyer's not it now. Like he's like, he's 16th year now in the league. Like
he's old as fuck. The good thing about the thing that you want from a Josh McDaniels system is when that ball snaps, you know where to go with the football.
Yeah.
Are you smart enough? Can you run the offense from the line of scrimmage? Right? Can you manipulate blocks? Can you manipulate things that you can control at the line? Do you know where to go with the ball? This kid is smart. Okay. Are you accurate? Yes. Can you get the ball to your playmakers where they can make plays? And that's all check boxes. Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Does he run around a lot? No. Can he run around a lot? No. But if he does need to move, he has good pocket presence. He's still accurate when he moves, either left or right. He's still accurate with the football. So there are things that do translate for him being successful in the NFL. Is he going to be a good starter? Probably not. He's going to be a backup, a solid backup, a guy that can spot start. But taking a guy like this in the 4th round doesn't stop you from taking a quarterback in the 1st round next year or in the 2nd round. You know what I'm saying?
What grade do you give the 2023 draft class? Let us know. We're listening. Comment section. So here's a look at all 9 picks that we got in the 2023 draft. Tyree Wilson, Michael Mayer, Byron Young, Tre Tucker, Jakorian Bennett, Aidan O'Connell, Christopher Smith, Amari Burney, Nesta, Jade, Slivera. We have to get a fucking fun name, right?
Nesta Jade.
We have to get a really fun name.
That sounds like an early 2000s rapper. Nesta Jade.
Sounds like a porn star. Nesta Jade.
I don't know, bro. You just always like the porn star hooker names.
Yeah. You know me so well. The last, so we're going to go one by one by each pick, and we'll break down each one, what we like briefly and quickly. Then we'll start talking to the comment section. We'll take some questions. We'll talk about the undrafted class as well, because I think we'll pick up, because we didn't really move a lot on, not at all. We didn't draft a single O lineman. So I think there's going to be a lot of undrafted free agents that make the team on O line, because we didn't draft any. So we'll get into that. But very last thing, which is interesting, and I'm struggling, Soto, to call it a plus or a minus.
Okay.
We didn't draft a day 1 starter. Mayer might at tight end. Wilson.
I don't agree with that whatsoever.
Okay, who's starting day 1?
Tyree Wilson can start day 1.
in front of Chandler or
Well,
Max.
see, now you're looking at it from the wrong perspective.
I think he'll contribute for sure. I'm not saying he's a non-player. He'll contribute day one, but you're starting defensive when you see the graphic, right? When CBS does game 1, Raiders versus whoever, is he on the graphic over Chandler Jones?
Okay, so let me answer it this way. In the NFL last season, and it's only been climbing. Defenses were in sub packages, so nickel or more DBs. They were in nickel packages 70% of the time plus. Mm-hmm. And it's only been getting higher and higher. You can't look at it as, oh, this person's a starter, that person's a starter. It's who plays when the money's on the line. Who's getting the majority of the snaps? Who's doing that? I can see us, if you want to do a 4-2 or a 3-3 front, however you want to manipulate it. Mm-hmm. I can see it being a mix of Max, name your nose, Chandler, and Tyree. There
isn't a slam dunk starter, is what I'm saying. And I'm with you that
Mayer's a starter.
Mayer could be, right? Again, it's like so much comes down to how they do, in camp and in position battles and shit like that, right? Like Mayer's got certainly starting potential. And again, I think Tyree Wilson's going to contribute right away.
I don't like that you're like that whole like narrative being pushed of this guy's a day one starter. How do you know? You don't.
We'll find out. And that's my point.
But like, the thing is I think
there's slam dunk starters that come out of drafts, right? And but again, though, like, again, I'm not saying it's I open this specifically with, I don't know if it's a negative or positive, because I see a lot of great development potential with these guys.
I fight against that because I don't think that's the best, and that's the best question we should be asking is how many slam dunk first day starters do we have?
It's not the best question we should be asking. It's one of 100 questions that we're discussing. It's not make or break on these guys. Like
I get what you're saying, RJ, but hang on a second.
I love Tyree Wilson, but it's like, all right, is he gonna,
but the thing is looking at it from that perspective is a negative perspective to look at things. You're looking at this as this guy's going to come in and he's going to contribute heavily to this team. That's what you're looking for. Do you care who starts or do you care who finishes?
I care about all of it. I'm asking, we're discussing 100 different things. And I've done nothing but say 87 positive things about Tyree Wilson. Like, oh, is he going to be a day one starter?
No,
maybe not. Okay. Over Chandler Jones. Like, these are things to be discussed. I'm just saying, like,
no, I get what you're saying, RJ. It just seems to me like it's like, well, let's temper our expectations by putting a wet blanket on this by day one start. Like, day one starter is like who really cares? It's all about the package that you're running. It's about what the offense is running with your defensive package.
To be fair, right? Our defense is so bad that our last pick could start at defensive tackle. You know what I mean? Like, the position battles on mostly on it. Burney could start at linebacker. Linebacker's so bad. You know what I mean?
I can see Burney starting towards the end of the season. He's going to pull a Diablo.
That was what I was leading to, right? That's what I was saying was like, I don't know if it's a negative or positive because I see awesome development potential with this.
Lead with the positive next time, RJ. God damn.
You want to end with the positive because that's where things, because that's the last thing you remember.
Yeah, you
talking to a chick. You don't start the you don't end the conversation with like
approach,
your
approach, and you sandwich the negative in between two positives.
No. If you're hitting on it, this is what you do. When you're hitting on a chick, you're like, oh, I heard your cousin has cancer. Then you lure them in with like the sad, and then you end it with like, so I got a brand new hot tub. Do you like hot tubs? Oh, I have a bathing suit that fits you. You don't open it with the hot tub and end it with the cousin. You open with the cousin, reel them in, end it with the hot tub. You always end with the positive, Soto.
I don't know.
And that's and that's the general trend of how I feel about this draft. Not a lot of like splashy slam dunk. This guy's going to start right away. It's a lot of like position of need, guys with potential. We got value, developmental guys. That's generally how I view this draft class. Is a lot of like, I can see this guy contributing for a really, really long time, as opposed to this guy's a slam dunk right away, or like hot and cold. You know what I mean? Like, this guy's like fast twitch, amazing athlete. We don't know about his work ethic. He's got some problems, but if it pans out, great. It's more like I see like a lot of meat and potatoes here as opposed to like ice cream sundaes. That makes sense.
Well, I think Mayer's a day one starter at tight end.
I hope
Day
so.
one. I think
hope so.
Tre Tucker is your day one kick and punt returner for years to come.
Mm-hmm.
I think Christopher Smith is ready-made to play in the NFL. How he dropped to 170, the only reason he drops to 170 is because of his slow 40 time. And let me tell you something right now. If somebody doesn't get like he can get a sprinting coach to teach him how to run a faster 40, and he would have run a faster 40. He doesn't play 4.6.
Do you think Christopher Smith starts over Merrick at free safety, or do you think they move one to strong? How do you think that looks?
Well, the thing is there's no strong and free safety in Patrick Graham's scheme and what he wants to do. They both do both. And Christopher Smith can do both. Christopher Smith even covered slot receivers in college.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, we'll get into this later, but he was great in coverage. He's not, I mean, straight line speed is not his deal, but he's super smart. He works hard and he's a ball hawk, man.
This draft feels like a slow build as opposed to a splash now. Not that like guys can't contribute. Again, Tyree Wilson's going to play. I think he plays the majority of snaps this season. I think he plays over 50% of the snaps. I think Michael Mayer. I'm going to say Michael Mayer so many times.
Dude, you say so many of these guys' names wrong. What does it matter now?
I think the Notre Dame tight end that will stay, namely, I think he plays the majority of snaps in this system. But I think more importantly, this feels like a crew that's building towards like next season, right? Like that's what I feel like. I feel like it's a draft, a long-term draft, as opposed to a splash now draft.
Let me give you guys a little bit of a rewind here. Philadelphia wasn't supposed to make the playoffs 2 years ago. That was like they're building in. Let's figure this out. Let's build up. They played over their heads a little bit. They got their shit pushed in the playoffs, but they came back the following year after another good draft, another good free agency, and now they're one of the better teams in the league.
Mm-hmm. They're scary good, dude.
Yeah.
They're so
well, the thing
scary
is, too, is look, when you're that good, you don't have to worry about getting a position of need. You literally just take the best player out there.
Yeah.
And you're going to get good players where you already have good players. So then you can make moves in the offseason. You can let guys go. You can trade guys away. You can get more. And that's how this is how it starts. You get good players at positions that fit your scheme. And yeah, I want to hop into this. Let's hop into this.
All right. Number one, Tyree Wilson and Texas Tech.
Yeah, man.
Overall. Love it.
I love the pick. Look, freak athlete. If you take Max Crosby, like physical attributes of Max Crosby, physical attributes of Chandler Jones, and you put them together, you get Tyree Wilson. Now, it just so happens both of those guys are on this team, and they can teach him, this is what you do. This is how we work. This is some techniques you need to learn. This is how I improved my first year. This is what helps me with my physical attributes that you have. Is he the thickest, biggest guy? No, but he's not small. He's 270. He's nice and tall, huge long arm wingspan. Check this out, guys, okay? He has an 84.5-inch wingspan at 6'6". Max at 6'5" has an 81-inch wingspan. All right? Chandler Jones at 6'5" has an 85-inch wingspan. I'm telling you, this is like the same guy.
You would have the longest wingspan in UFC history. There was a fighter who was 7 foot tall named Stefan Struve. He has a longer wingspan than that. This guy's a condor. You think Max is the condor? Max is the hummingbird compared to this guy.
There's a template that you're looking for with this defensive end. Motor, hard work, beats off the line, long arms, can win with his hands. He's even though he has long arms, he has a good grip, and you're not getting away with him arm tackle. Okay, His last recorded 40-yard dash was 4.8. You're thinking, oh, 4.8, that's awful. Well, Max was 4.6, which is really good. Chandler Jones was 4.87. So they're in that range. You're looking at the comp now. Looking at the comp of what we see and what we have on this team. All right. So his last 2 seasons, 23. He only played 10 games last year. Excuse me, because he had the foot injury. But look, let me see if this sounds familiar. Okay, 23 games, 87 pressures. That sounds like somebody we know, right?
Mm-hmm.
58 quarterback hurries, 15 quarterback hits, 14 sacks, 27.5 tackles for loss. That sounds like a template that you're looking for that position, and we seem to have that.
He's so like Max Crosby, it's ridiculous.
It's scary.
It's so great. Like it's like these Texas boys, man. They're just like built the same way. Like they even tackled the same. Like that was when I was worried about watching some of his tape. He's such a waist tackler, like grab the waist and roll. You know what I mean? Like he's one of those kind of guys, not like a sticker. But I was like,
arms are so long, he just like reaches out and grabs them, and you're not. He just going
like
anywhere.
Octopuses you. You're just like, and then down you go. Like so my two knocks were like obviously the injury, right? Is something that we have to keep an eye on. Nothing overly worried about. A fracture, like bones heal pretty easy, right? Like if you're gonna have an injury, you want it to be a bone injury because bones just they break, they come back together, they heal, you're fine, right? But something to keep an eye on. And the waist tackling, I was kind of like, I wish, but those are things that generally don't change often. So I was kind of worried, like your fundamentals of tackling, you kind of learn in Pop Warner and you rarely drastically change it. But I was like, that's Max. That's how Max tackles.
Dude,
Max tackles the exact same way, and it hasn't held him back.
If you redraft that 2019 draft, Max is going in the first round, right?
Yep.
Okay, he's one of the better defensive ends. This is the same guy. Now, again, the same attributes. All we can do, and it is for any of these guys, all we can do now is build an environment for them to succeed. Facilities, nutrition, coaching, recovery, development. That's what we can do to help them. Max seems to be doing a pretty damn good job. I would say, Max, let me go ahead and get a room in that house. Let me go ahead and rent the back house, and I want to do what you do. Mm-hmm. That's what I would do if I was Tyree Wilson. The one knock on him that I saw over and over again was that he didn't have great technique. Like he won by overpowering offensive linemen in college. Mm. But we saw how that worked with Max when he was a rookie. It didn't really bother him much. You know, he just won by effort. And if you can win by effort and learn technique from somebody ahead of you who went through those same growing pains, I think this is going to be a great, great pickup for us. If we can imagine having two Max Crosbys.
Pro Bowl potential with him. Giant Pro Bowl potential. And you get we were talking about it when we were doing the live show. Like imagine, and he could play, like outside backer too. Like kind of
he played outside backer too. Yeah.
Any sort of like end rush position, hand in the dirt, 2 feet, he's fine either way. Even a little coverage every now and then. I think he will be fine as well.
That's what I'm saying is even if you do like a 3-4 look or whatever, you can get
put him outside backer over Max.
You can get him
over like a right tackle, like a weak right tackle.
Yeah. So one thing that I heard that really stuck with me was an analyst said, even when he made mistakes on tape, it didn't matter. Yeah. He still made the play. That's how good he is.
Our second round pick, we go offense. A little, position wise, it felt kind of luxury, like tight end when we have so many needs on defense and other places. But value wise, knocked it out of the park. Traded up actually to the Colts to position number 35 to get Michael Mayer, tight end, Notre Dame.
Yeah, at 34, the Lions took Laporta, and we're like, oh shit, that's the second tight end off the board. Mayer's going to be next. We got to go up and get him, and we did. Prototypical tight end, big soft hands. He's got decent speed for a tight end. Good blocker. He's a huge red zone threat. That's what you're looking for. That is the prototypical Josh McDaniels type tight end that he's looking for. That's the kind of tight end he can maximize, right? Measurables are pretty average across the board, but he knows how to play with those measurables. You didn't look at him when he was playing and say, oh, that guy's average. No, this guy was a freaking stud. So look at this comparison, okay? Mayer is 6'4", 250, ran a 4.7 40. Gronk, 6'6", 258, 4.7 40, 4.68. Mark Andrews, 6'5", 256, 4.67, basically a 4.7 40. Mm-hmm. Mark Andrews is one of the comps that I see a lot, but I think he's a better blocker than Mark Andrews is. I mean, he had elite tight end production without elite quarterback play. He was basically all they had at Notre Dame the last couple of years. So, in 2021, 71 catches, 840 yards, 7 touchdowns. Now, one thing you want to look at, too, that I look at a lot is what was the rating of the quarterback when throwing to this receiver, right? how did good things happen when you threw to this guy? In 2021, 112.6 quarterback rating when targeted. Now let's go to 22. Almost exactly the same. 67 catches, 809 yards, 9 touchdowns, 103.9 rating when targeted. So you throw the ball to this guy, good things are going to happen.
The only knocks on this pick was a pass catcher in round 2 when we had so many good ones and the defense is so desperate. And he's not because we're used to Darren Waller, like the most dynamic tight end in football, right? Just a speedster, 6'6", like insane. He's not that. He's literally everything else. He's every other part of it other than being like a super dynamic guy. Great high point catcher, smart player, and one of the best blocking tight ends in the whole draft, which I think a lot of people like. It's so hard to like. When you think of tight ends, the first thing we talk about is stats, catches, touchdowns, shit like that, right? You don't see on metrics how good of a blocker that Michael Mayer is. And that's going to make a very, very big difference, especially with the O-line that's still like it improved, right? Through the course of the year. It's still at this point a weakness of the Raiders. We'll see what it can turn into. We didn't draft a single lineman either. So we're more or less sticking with who we got last season. You put him on the end and you got Josh Jacobs running behind him doing another amazing thing. So the blocking I love. And he's a very like, I will give Ziegler credit. These all feel like Josh McDaniels type players. He's like a Josh McDaniels tight end. Like he runs a great post. You know, McDaniels loves the dig routes. Garoppolo loves throwing digs, right? And he can do that. Great high point catcher. Gritty guy. Like he's like a throwback tight end in a modern offense.
Yeah, it's just because there's the trends go a certain direction doesn't mean you have to go all the way towards that direction. If there's certain types of players that generally excel in what you want to accomplish, why not get those guys? And Michael Mayer is one of them.
Can we stop with the Baby Gronk nickname, please? Like, oh, he's like Baby Gronk. So everyone's like, oh yeah, so that means like, stop. You can call anybody anything. And like and be like, oh yeah, that's who he is. Like, no, he's gonna be his own guy. Like,
is there a comparison? Is there like a physical, like stat wise, measurable wise?
I like the Andrews comparison.
Yes. The Andrews comparison is. I think the Andrews comparison is a little bit closer. But for short area quickness and stuff like that, all three of them are pretty good, pretty comparable.
Round 3, defensive tackle, Alabama. You rarely go wrong when you just say those words. Right. Byron Young. Of all the positions, I would say this was the biggest reach. Again, this draft was awesome on value. This was the closest one to a reach, I would call, but it was such a position of need that it was hard to be mad at it, even though it was kind of a little bit of an eyebrow raiser for me. Of all the picks we made, this was the one with the biggest eyebrow raise for me.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a couple things you want to look at. Not everyone can be a superstar. Not everyone can get the stats, right? Mm-hmm. But can you do your job? Byron Young, showed that he can do his job well, and he can let the guys around him eat. And that was his job. 100%. His job was to plug up the middle and let the guys on the outside make the plays, right? Even with that, he put up some pretty good stats. Prototypical 2-gap run stuffer, has some perhaps rushing ability, a really good motor, really high motor.
Such a McDaniels guy. Do your job.
Do your job, and everything else will be fine.
Glory, do your job. He's like, all right, I'm going to take 2 blockers.
Let me show you why this guy can win. Why this guy wins. His hands are massive. He has 11-inch hands. That is huge. He can almost pick up a ruler like with his pinky and his thumb. That's how huge his hands are, okay? Big, strong hands, long arms, 81 and an 1/8 inch wingspan at 6'2". That's freaky long. So he's going to be able to get his hands on the offensive lineman and control them before they can get their hands on him. If he punches hard and he locks out and he can look for the ball, he's going to be able to maneuver the offensive lineman before they can go ahead and maneuver him.
He's not, in your words, a playa, which I think there were more playa type players available at that point in round 3. In round 3, you can still get players. Like you're like, all right, there were still some pretty dynamic corners and linebackers available that we didn't get. We got him instead. So again, that's why it was the eyebrow raiser. It's like, this defense is so bad. We need monsters like this. These are the guys you get to supplement when you're like, all right, we've got a Pro Bowl safety and a Pro Bowl linebacker. Let's get the Byron Youngs of the world to be the meat and potatoes dudes. They don't need to be stars. They got to be role players that do their role well, right? This is normally the type of guy you get when you have that defense, which we don't. Again, he serves his role well, and it will be important. Of all the picks, this is the one I would say I'm most disappointed in. This is the guy you get when you have a good defense and you have a guy that makes everyone better. That's not us at this point. So I think, again, not a terrible pick. There's more dynamic guys later. It just felt like a solid role player when we need dynamic leaders.
Well, I mean, he was a leader on the defense, number one, but also look at this. His last 2 seasons at Alabama, 87 tackles, 15 tackles for loss, and at a traditional nose most of the time in a D tackle position, 37 quarterback pressures, 21 hurries, 10 hits, and 6 sacks. So he has that ability. If he can win with his arms and his hands, he's not going to win you with a bunch of crazy moves and all that stuff. His feet aren't great, like for stunts and stuff like that. He's going to be, I'm going to take this guy on. I'm going to take the center or guard on, and I'm going to beat him with my hands. And he has good burst. So once he gets past that initial line, he's going to be able to close in on the ball carrier.
And he's not like a giant type of nose tackle role either. Where you can do like a 3-4 and have him be the center of it. But he's pretty diverse with his skill set. And again, like he knows his role, plays it well. There's not one thing he does terrible, right? He'll definitely be in rotation this year, especially with how bad, our defensive line is. Pick number 100 traded up to the Giants to get a wide receiver, another eyebrow raiser. In the 4th round, Tre Tucker out of Cincinnati.
Yeah, look, Tre Tucker, it fits like if you look at the heyday of the Josh McDaniels offenses, you have good strong tight end play, right? Like we talked about with Mayer. You also have multiple guys that can do the same thing. You have multiple quick slot guys that can either play the slot, run little gadget stuff, little quick screen stuff, or they can go deep as well. Mm-hmm. So Tucker he's generally a little bit above average fast for a running back. The thing is, his burst, or excuse me, a receiver, but it's his burst. Return game stud. That's what you're looking for in a returner is, can you stop and start quickly? So
when people talk about Tyree Hill, like how fast he is, like ignore his 40 time. It's his start burst.
It's a start.
That's what matters.
This was elite. He was in like the 96th percentile in 10-yard split, 1.48 seconds. So his burst is bam. In less than a second and a half, he's 10 yards. So excellent burst for him. He's short. He's a little bit smaller. He's a physical freak. One of the things that I think you'll like about this, that Mick Ziegler talked about a lot, was he was a high school wrestler, and he was just iron tough. He squats 600 pounds. He doesn't weigh 200 pounds. He squats 600 pounds. He has 16 reps at 225 in the combine. Now, at his pro day, he ran a 4.4 in the combine. At his pro day, he ran a 4.29. Now, that could be some home cook in there, but man, speed is speed. You have to be going somewhat that fast to be able to clock at a 4.29. The issue that we're having here is a little bit smaller, right? But for right now, he's going to be your return guy, and you can use him on gadget plays. You can use him on the jet sweeps, on the reverses, on the screens. And if you have cornerbacks, don't want to cover these small, fast receivers in the slot, because when you're in the slot, there's a lot of space around you. You don't have a sideline. You don't have any of that shit around you. It's just you and the speedy, quick guy in front of you. And guess what? If you got 2 of those guys, that's problems for the defense.
The Raiders have been picking up like speedster for hires the last few seasons, right? Jackson, this season as well. It's been like, all right, he's kind of older. Like we know who he is, but like we have to have a dude with like a 4.5 40, a 4.4 40. Like you have to have one on your team to be able to stretch the defense. And it's been like 1 year deals of like speedster for hires. This is like our speedster for the next 4 years, right? We got that guy, right? Love the value of this pick. Like at 4th, I understand why they traded up, and especially beating the Giants who might have wanted him, or after the Giants. It's just wide receiver in the 4th round when we've like, that's the strength of this offense. That was the big eyebrow raiser when I just saw wide receiver. What does this make? What do you think this means for the future of Hunter Renfrow?
I think they can coexist. You had an Amendola and a Wes Welker at the same time. You had Welker was there first, then Amendola. Then you had you transitioned into Amendola and Julian Edelman. You can have 2 of those guys at the same time.
Yeah.
Now, does that necessarily mean that for sure they're going to keep Hunter Renfrow? No, because I don't know what they're going to do. But if they decide to keep both, you can definitely plug both of these guys into this offense.
Again, love the player, love the value of the position of the draft pick. It was just, wide receiver at 4 with so many good corners, linebackers, and defensive tackles on the board. That was the only weird part. Outside of need, love the guy, especially for this offense.
Oh, yeah.
Next up, round number 4. 4 picks later. That's always kind of fun when you go 4 picks later. Another trade up with the Texans. Finally, cornerback, Maryland, Jakorian Bennett.
This is their guy. When you take a look at a Patrick Graham defender, fast, hard worker, gets his hands on a lot of footballs, and this is it. This is who you got. He's kind of a high-waisted kind of looking guy, really long legs, aggressive, competitive. He's got high-end traits. Look, hard worker. He went the junior college route. So funny thing about Jakorian Bennett, he was going to quit his high school football team because he wasn't playing. So into his senior season, he hit a growth spurt, and he grew from like 5'5" to like 5'11" over the summer. He came back and he wasn't used to playing a lot, so he didn't really get a lot of looks. He didn't have a lot of good technique. He's still kind of getting used to that new body of his. He went the JUCO route, took 2 years, blossomed. Look at his last 2 seasons, okay? Those last 2 seasons, 23 games. He had 63 tackles, great. 24 pass breakups, 5 interceptions, and his average rating allowed. So when the quarterbacks passed to his receiver, he averaged in the last 2 seasons allowed 65.5 rating. Kid's a player.
He is the quintessential round 4 pick. 1, massive position of need, corner. 2, instincts and raw skill, a 4.3 40, right? Instincts and raw skill there, discipline terrible, which is one of the easiest things to coach.
Yeah,
right?
he gets penalized a lot.
Yeah, like if it's like poor discipline, right? He gets fooled a lot mid route. Like you can juke the fuck out of this guy. But his instincts and speed are so good, he was able to kind of compensate for that. Now he's going to have a learning curve in the NFL. But the beautiful thing is, have cover Devontae Adams and Hunter Renfrow every single day in practice and start weeding that out of you.
Yeah.
So he will fuck us if he plays a lot his rookie year. He's just that raw. But again, the theme of this draft is the instincts are good and the raw ability is there.
Yeah.
And so that's if you had to have a giant knock on a corner that you can coach out of, this is what it is. It's just he's just not he's not a disciplined corner, which you can not saying it will happen, but good, proper coaching. This is a long-term starter for us, raw ability and instincts wise.
Yeah, there's 2 big knocks that I had on Jakorian Bennett. Number 1, like you talked about, he was penalized a lot. A lot of that is eye discipline too, not getting beat, not getting fooled off of route combinations. That's one. The other one is he dropped a lot of interceptions. A lot of the pass breakups should have been interceptions that he didn't catch. He could have seriously had triple the interceptions that he did have if he didn't drop a lot of interceptions. But he gets his hands on the ball a lot. Their incompletions is, more than we've seen in the past. So those are the 2 big things. One, you can really coach out of, which is that technique, eye discipline, stuff like that, hand technique when the ball's in the air. Other one is, get on that jugs machine, learn how to catch.
Get on the jugs machine and grab Hunter, grab Devontae after practice and say,
run
give
routes.
me your best.
Yep. Let's go.
Beat my ass until I figure it out. And he can be something really special for a fourth rounder with that kind of raw ability.
Dude, look at these measurables. This is crazy. He ran a 4.340. He was also a 1.48 10-yard split, right? He had a 40.5-inch vertical. His broad jump was 11 feet 1 inch. This dude is explosive. Even if he gets beat, he has the burst to make up any ground that he needs to cover.
I'll put it this way. If he comes, I have no clue what his family situation is. If he's the older brother, I'm semi-worried because you got like a little swagger and confidence when you're older. If he's the little brother that's always trying to like prove himself, I'd love it.
That's why I like the JUCO route.
Monte, come here. Line up. Beat me. I dare you, motherfucker. And then just
that was him, man. That was him.
Eat shit from Devontae every single rep.
Yep.
Until you get better.
That's what I liked about his story, how he had that spurt and he really didn't have a lot of good coaching and a lot of experience going into college. So he went the junior college route, killed it there, went to Maryland and killed it there too.
He's going to be scary if he starts because corner is so shallow for us. Like there's a semi-decent chance he starts for us right out of the gate. Like I said, he will frustrate the crap out of us a few times because he's so raw. But I think there's a lot of long-term potential here with him. Time for the star of the draft. Quarterback. Purdue. Boilermaker. Aidan O'Connell, a.k.a. Farva.
Rodney Farva.
I want to say, Soto, I don't want to say we're 100% the reason the Raiders drafted Aidan, but it's pretty safe to say we're 85% of the reason why we drafted Landfill out of Purdue. We were hoping for this last week when he there was a couple mock drafts where he went to the Raiders, and understandably so, which we'll get to, like him and McDaniels, like what McDaniels looks for in a quarterback. It makes a lot of sense. I think we did it. I don't want to dislocate my shoulder patting myself on the back, Soto, but we should do that. We should pat ourselves on the back.
I think for sure. Look, guys, we definitely tipped the scale.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that right now.
We got him.
Yeah.
Is there a higher grade than A++++? Because that's what I give this pick.
Yeah. Just
Aidan O'Connell.
What was it in a Christmas Vacation? Or not Christmas Vacation, but Christmas Story when he wrote his essay on what he wanted for Christmas, and the teacher just went plus, A+, plus, just kept writing on the chalkboard a bunch of pluses.
That's what we get.
For sure. That's us right there.
I want to make a video of like highlights of him in Purdue at the line of scrimmage, and instead of his audibles being like audibles, I'm just gonna do nothing but like Super Troopers and beer fest lines. Car ramrod. Hut, hike. Liter of cola. Give me a goddamn liter of cola. Hut, hike. You gotta do it.
Large Farva.
Let's see how fun Josh McDaniels is if he does like a special package for Aidan O'Connell. That's just nothing but Super Troopers lines.
That'd be so great. So look, okay, now for Aidan O'Connell, aka Farva.
Shenanigans? You saying shenanigans?
Okay. Highly accurate, played in a pro style. He went to Purdue, not
Smart
Purdue. Throws with anticipation and touch. Good pocket presence. Smart kid, man. Picks up the offense right away. Yep. Okay. Average arm strength, and that's being kind. He's an average Joe arm strength wise, but he makes up for it in his smarts, his accuracy, his touch. He leads receivers well. He gets them the ball in a position to make plays. That's what we need. We have the playmakers. What we don't need is what we've seen is guys having to stop for balls, guys having to get the stuff thrown behind them, short pass or long passes that come up short. We need guys that get the ball in rhythm to these receivers to be able to make this offense hum. He's accurate moving to either side. When he has to scramble, he doesn't scramble a lot. He's a prototypical pocket passer, and he's got good pocket presence. But if he does need to move to one side or the other, he definitely can still be accurate. Now, he's not going to blow you away with his measurements, right? He's like, 6'3", 213, something like that. Where he wins is pre-snap. He controls the line of scrimmage. He was in a pro-style offense, like I said. He controlled all the blocking schemes. He controlled the running schemes. He's a big-time leader. Now, let's take a look at his last two seasons, okay? 2021 was his breakout year. That's what put him on the map. 3,700 yards, 28 touchdowns, 71.7% completion percentage. His quarterback rating was 108. Dipped a little bit this last year. He had a couple little nagging injuries, and he had a couple of guys drafted that were his guys, but he still had a decent year. 3,483 yards, 22 touchdowns. Percentage dipped a little bit, 63.7% and 88.1 passer rating. Now, is this guy going to be a starter? No, I don't see him being a starter for the next few years if he is one. If he is a starter, I see him being he can be a Drew Brees-ish type guy. Drew Brees didn't start right away either. He was behind. He was there first before Phillip Rivers. But Drew Brees, they went to the same school, and they're very similar in a lot of ways. I think Drew Brees was a little better athlete than O'Connell is, and threw the deep ball a little bit better, a little bit more accurate down the field, even though he didn't have the strongest arm. But how did he win? He won pre-snap with his accuracy, timing, and with his touch on his ball.
They're going to have to make up a new award other than NFL MVP because that's not good enough of an award for Aidan Landfill Farva O'Connell. He'll be a 10-time Super Bowl champion. That's my prediction. He's just too beautiful. But in all seriousness, he's literally exactly the Josh McDaniels prototypical quarterback, poor man's version. He's the 4th-round pick of exactly what Josh McDaniels wants. Smart pocket passer, like you mentioned. He's used the Purdue line was garbage.
He was beat to shit last year.
That's why he got so good at being a quick throw processor because he had no choice. It was either get that ball out in 1.8 seconds or you're decapitated by Ohio State's defensive tackles, right? So it was kind of, he reminds me like the situation around like Will Levis, why he fell down so low in the draft and why people were so, like his stats were so bad because he's playing the SEC on Kentucky. Like his O-line was getting murdered. His wide receivers never got open. That was O'Connell. Like you look at O'Connell's highlight reel. He's throwing to white guys. Like O'Connell's been forced to throw to white receivers for like the bulk of his career. You think against like Michigan's DBs, you think he's got like wide open dudes, you know? You think he's like got all kinds of time and like their dude just like jukes a motherfucker and gets wide open? No. He's like, I got 2 seconds to throw to the tiniest window of a dude who's covered. So yeah. I love the potential here because it's so hard to tell the Will Levises, the Aidan O'Connells of the world when they're just getting murdered they're getting just murked because they're on an inferior team. With that, I love how he developed positive habits and not bad habits. Anthony Richardson, he developed a lot of like, not bad habits because he's such a stud athlete, but it's like, I'm just going to have to run around these guys because nothing's there. I'm just going to lean on my physicality. Aidan O'Connell's like, I'm going to have to get this ball out immediately. I'm going to have to make the perfect read, and I'm going to have to get the ball exactly to the right spot because he had no other choice. He was forced into that situation. Instead of being a dude who's like, I'm just going to have to scramble a lot when I shouldn't. I'm going to have to just make desperation throws because I have no other choice because my wide receivers can't beat a DB and my tackles are getting clobbered. He made really, really good adjustments and made good habits out of a bad situation. Like you said, bad deep ball.
I wouldn't say bad. He just loses some accuracy.
It's below average. It's a below average deep ball.
I mean, he has average arm strength. His deep ball is going to be average.
The touch is there and the accuracy's there and the brain's there. He's a lot like Jimmy Garoppolo. Honestly, like he's very much like Jimmy Garoppolo. Can get the ball out right away. But I think he's smarter and way sexier. Obviously.
Oh God.
I mean, do I even need to like say that?
You know what?
That's stash.
To his credit, or in his favor, he's a super deeply religious guy. Like he wants to be like the team chaplain and all that stuff. So that's going to kind of help him out in Vegas. Hopefully, it keeps him studying in the books and out of the strip clubs.
We need Jimmy G to take him out a day out in Vegas and have it just a camera follow. Like that would be so. My buddy Gavin, he was the UFC head of social media. He's now the Raiders head of social media. This guy Gavin, right? So every now and then I send him like ideas. I send him like the Aidan O'Connell, like what's the name of the actor that plays Farva? McDonough's. What's his name? He's gonna kill me. Hold on.
His name is Farva.
Yeah, right. He doesn't have a real name. It's Farva. That's his name.
Rod Farva.
Shit. What's his real name?
You don't light my country music award on fire? Gonna light my ass on fire.
Kevin Heffernan. If the Raiders don't get Kevin Heffernan to like come to the facility and do like a bit with Aidan O'Connell, you're just leaving money on the table.
You should just show up and be like, yeah, what's up? I'm Aidan O'Connell. Chewing gum.
Mr. Failsafe Info.
False info. Jesus.
False info. Failsafe Info. Pahales Info. Thank you so much for the super sticker.
Pahanix.
Much appreciated. Thank you very, very much.
I
blacked out. Where are we? Oh, yeah. Round 5. Another trade up. Much position in need from a fantastic defense. All the outside stuff is there, right? Like all the labels are there. Now it's a matter of can he pull it off. Christopher Smith II.
Yeah, man. Tough, smart, productive player. Leader on a great defense. He was one of the leaders in the secondary. His measurables aren't great. He's not going to blow you away with his 40 time and his vert and all this stuff. But you put on the tape and none of that shows. Mm-hmm. You don't see him being slow. You don't see him not being able to jump. What you see is a tough, hard-nosed, smart player who's a magnet for the ball. And now you take a look at like Jakorian Bennett, who can't catch the ball. You have Christopher Smith, who's a ball hawk, right? So Christopher Smith even played corner. That's how slow he was. They put him at covering the slot in this defense, and and also played like a deep safety as well. He can do one or the other. His last 2 seasons. All right, check this out. In 2021, 30 tackles, 2 pass breakups, 3 picks. This is elite here. This number is elite. 53.8 rating against. So whenever they threw to him, that was the rating. That's awesome. All right. This last season, 41 tackles, 4 pass breakups. Again, 3 interceptions. Even better, 50.6 rating when targeted. Tough against the run, good tackler, really good ball skills, gets his head around, tracks the ball well in the air. The low measurables don't show up on the tape. Mm-hmm. This dude is a baller. Dare I say he's a player. You put him on the field.
Whoa.
You put him in the right spots. This guy can be a player.
Christopher Smith, player.
Yes.
He's getting the Soto playa tag.
I see it, man. You put on the tape, man, and this guy makes plays.
That's gonna be one of the t-shirts that we make when we start doing t-shirts next season. Just like a sticker, just like kind of weird, just like playa, like a stamp,
like a yellow sticker. Boom, playa.
Or just like like the red stamp.
The red stamp, playa. Soto,
official, playa. Yeah. Bold claim, ballsy claim. He's tiny, man. That's the biggest thing. He's small, and that's been a trend with the Raiders this draft. Like all these defensive players, like 5'11", 5'11", 5'10".
I mean, he's
5'10", 190. That's not big for a safety. But you're right. Like, and I think that's why he fell down to where he did, was because of his size. That's why he's a 5th rounder, right? Like like you said, his numbers on a great Georgia defense, and he still put up great numbers. That's the reason why he fell to 5. Because he's tiny. The dude's my size. Like he's literally my size.
Yeah. I want to look at this really quick. Hits Boy Radio. Then why didn't he make nobody mock or no pre-draft hype? Because nobody who's doing mocks or pre-draft hype is actually drafting.
It's because he's small. That's why. He's small.
The people who know, that people who get the guys on the field and coach these guys and sign these guys to contracts, those guys wanted them. At least one team did.
Well, he's generally opposite of what scouts want. They want, when they look for value, they're looking for dudes with like things you can't coach, right? Size, 40 time, instincts, metrics, right? And he's low on that. Smaller, not a great 40 time. And you can also make the case that we've seen all the time as Raider fans, we're signing players with good numbers from great defenses. Why are their numbers great? Because they're surrounded by great players. And it's easier to be great when everyone's doing their job and more so around you.
And how do they play in the pros? Ooh.
And then they go, right. And so that's why he fell to round 5, because he's undersized, not great metrics, played on a great defense as one of the, not one of the better dudes of a great defensive backfield. That's why he fell to 5. But you can't ignore those metrics. So he's unlike most of this draft, where it was really good at picking up guys like, oh, wow, this is a good developmental guy. I think the metrics are there. I think he underperformed in college maybe a little bit, and he's a chance to overperform now. He's opposite of that. Not that he's going to fail. I'm not saying that, but he's different than most of the other draft picks, I think, for the Raiders.
I don't know. I think you might be undervaluing the production of some of our players. I think our players were plenty productive in college. I think maybe the only one that you can see, maybe because of the role that he played, was Byron Young. But the other guys were productive in college. I mean, the one thing we didn't talk about with Turner when we were talking about—
I don't mean underproductive. I mean the physical traits, the potential of the physical traits are bigger than their production. Whereas this guy's measurables is much less than his production. He's the one guy where that's the inverse.
Yeah. So look, Smith is kind of like what you talked about that you were looking for. What's the most important thing? Can this guy play the sport of football? We talked about it the last episode before the pre-draft episode. That's the most important thing. Now, the measurables and the combine stuff is kind of like the sprinkle on top, but what's the actual meat? Is can he play the game? Yes. Do his lack of measurables show up on tape? No, they don't. He shows that he can go in there and he can make plays. He can play the game of football. He can do what you drafted him to do.
He needs to prove that he's one of those like gritty dudes that knows football so well despite not being the same physical nature of the guys that he's playing against and with. That's who he is, which is what happens all the time, which is a different challenge than a lot of the other guys in this draft. Was my point. Round 6, another trade up. Pick number 203 via the Texans. Linebacker. Finally took the round 6 to get a linebacker. Florida, Amari Burney.
Okay, Amari Burney. If you wanted to like build a linebacker for a Patrick Graham scheme, it would be Amari Burney. It would be almost like a convert type safety linebacker who's a little bit bigger. He's got some decent coverage skills, can play in space, and that's Burney. Aggressive linebacker, plays fast, wins by beating blockers to the point. He's just a speed guy. Hasn't been playing linebacker full time. I think last season was the first time he played full time linebacker. He played a safety and linebacker hybrid type of role. He can run with the skill players. He's fast enough to do that. He's got good hands, and he can cover space in a hurry. So he can cover that deep middle if you ask him to. So last season, which I took last season because it's his first season as a full-time linebacker. So last season, 79 tackles, 4 pass breakups, 2 picks, 12 pressures, 4 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 1 fumble recovery, 5 tackles for loss. That's the kind of production at a big school playing big-time competition that you're looking for in this scheme. He lacks some instincts as a linebacker because he hasn't really been a full-time linebacker for that long. You put him in a scheme, you let him learn. I see him being a Divine Diablo type with maybe a little bit higher ceiling, a little bit bigger, because I think he's got a better kind of a better of the new wave, a better linebacker body. And I think with his skill set, mid-season he'll be taking the majority of the snaps.
I got him as a 9 tackles for loss. You had 4. Which I'm curious if I have it right.
5.
You have 5. I had 9.
Well, maybe
that up.
It's
I'm
9.
curious.
It's 9
I'm
better.
curious. Way better. That's what I'm saying, and that changes things a little bit for me. I don't see him ever being like like a 2-3 down linebacker in the NFL, but I can see him doing really well as like a nickel backer, right? Where you're in passing situations. The instincts that he developed as a safety, as a coverage linebacker, and that's what we need in the AFC West. Is coverage linebackers with these tight ends and catching running backs in the AFC West that we have to cover. I see that as his role, like a niche specialty nickel passing situation. Maybe you have him be a backer against a very specific linebacker or a very specific running back you're going against, like a shifty running back that needs to be covered really well in man. I can see him doing that. I don't ever see him I'd love to be wrong. I don't see him as a 3-down backer ever. But I can definitely see him being really good at special teams, again with his tackling instincts, and being carving out a solid niche. And that's a great niche in the NFL in 2023.
Some package linebacker, hell yeah.
Good coverage linebacker. If you can, you will have a job for 10 years if you're in just an average coverage nickel linebacker, and that's the type of linebacker we've been missing. So again, good value for a guy that has a lot to learn. And again, we're getting down to round 6. Some of these guys won't even make the team, but I think with the value in this very specific position that the Raiders need a coverage linebacker, he fits that for a round 6 guy. Love it. Round 7, last draft, last pick, 9 of 9, trading with the Patriots. Shocking. Josh McDaniels and Ziegler were able to make it with the Patriots. Defensive tackle, Arizona State. Hey, a Pac-12 guy. Nesta, Jade, Slivera.
So this is another prototype 2-gap defensive tackle. He's got a little bit more wiggle than Byron Young does. Doesn't have the measurables as far as the arm length and the hand and the punch that you're looking for, but he's a much better lateral quickness. Not great, but better than Byron Young showed. So he can do the kind of stunts and the inside moves and stuff like that you're looking for in that position. Shows good burst off the line of scrimmage. And now you combine that with his really good upper body strength, and that's how he wins. His quick first, his upper body strength, he can shed tackles well. So his last 2 seasons, he went to Miami and then he transferred to Arizona State for his last year. His last 2 seasons, 94 tackles, 10 tackles for loss, 38 quarterback pressures. That's 30 hurries, 5 hits, and 3 sacks. So that's good production out of your interior defensive line. If you can develop that guy a little bit more, the knock on him is he may not always play with full effort. I don't see anyone on this defensive line.
I like that was the nicest way to say he can be lazy.
Effort. Well, I'm trying to be positive.
Play. Yeah, that's good. He's a 7th rounder. He's at Arizona State, party capital of the universe. So he's one of those guys that hopefully, the work ethic of the defensive tackles around him, Max Crosby, hopefully rubs off on him a little bit. But again, maybe the biggest position of need in the entire team, it's either corner or defensive tackle, and he's defensive tackle. So again, you go with guys very consistent with what you look for in a round 7 guy. A lot of traits there that you need. A really, really good athlete for a round 7 guy. Now, can you coach it up? Can you coach the bad habits out of him? Is the laziness a product of his environment, or is that just who Slivera is? Those are the risks. Those are the dice you roll with 7th rounders, stuff like that. So that is our draft class. Started out with 12 picks, ended up with 9, 6 defense, 3 offense. Those are our boys. Those are boys right there. Soak it in. Welcome to Raider Nation, fellas. You have 1 day to celebrate that you're now rich and in the NFL. Now get to fucking work.
Right.
Let's get some W's. Let's talk about the undrafted players real quick. I highly recommend. I really love the athletics breakdown of the undrafted agents that were picked up. They did their top 10 list, and I like it a lot. Dalton Wagner, tackle out of Arkansas, McClendon Curtis, lineman out of Chattanooga. I think those are
Chattanooga. That guy's a beast.
I think those are the 2 most likely guys to make the team. One, because I think they slipped through the cracks there's a lot of good tackles in this draft, and they just kind of slipped through the cracks with so many good tackles, and we didn't draft any tackles. So these are guys that we needed. We desperately need at minimum depth, and I think these are guys that can. I think both guys can compete for starting positions. I think there could be a competition for these guys.
Yeah, I don't want to go that far because I don't know that these guys are better prospects than the guys that, even like Thayer Munford that we had last year that played. Or, you have the whole Parker Illuminor double team with who's better, who's going to play, who can, Illuminor could kick inside. So I could see them playing a role, but a lot of times people will think that the players coming in to the draft are better than the players that are already there. Well, I mean, those guys were good players in college too. They were drafted players too. It just because they're new doesn't mean they're going to be better. Yep. But yeah, we got defense. Basically, we got DBs and offensive linemen in undrafted free agency. That's what we got, and that's what we needed too. Yeah. We needed more of that. So if we could get guys that are, get a couple guys to pan out, cool. I'm good with it. But the guys that we picked, what's encouraging to me is they're guys of position of need. They fit what you're looking to do, and you didn't go crazy, 5 rounds too early for them.
Dalton Wagner got $250,000 in total guarantees for an undrafted guy.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's a ton. So obviously the Raiders. So obviously there were other people that wanted Wagner, right? Where they had to pay him $2 million. Like he was, he didn't get drafted, but people were looking for him. 6'8", 320. Big boy. Curtis at Chattanooga, 6'5", 324. Again, raw. Like, oh, we found this dude playing basketball and we just like threw him onto the line type raw, like real raw.
Was that like the air up there?
Raw. Adam Plant Jr. would be kind of fun. I think he has an outside chance of making the team because he went to UNLV. Like he went to played at Bishop Gorman High School, went to UNLV, local dude. So, and obviously edge outside of our 3 edge rush, like our main 3 edge rushers, it's pretty shallow. So I think he has a decent chance of making the team. Other than that, that's probably it. I don't think, 2 offensive linemen, maybe that edge rusher. That's probably it. We had 2 players, 2 undrafted players last season make the team. I think we'll probably get. Yep, I think we'll probably get 2 this season. I'm guessing because there's positions of need so much that maybe one of those tackles, maybe that edge rusher. Like we'll see.
You never know.
But that's it. 9 draft picks. I think we picked up 10 undrafted free agents as of this count. I think it's 10, maybe more. Less than a dozen or so. But that's the squad, man. That's the squad. Again, I gave it a B. You gave him a B plus. The biggest thing I'm happiest about is they crushed the biggest thing I talk about: value. At almost every single position, that player should have went earlier. That's a player that at that point in the draft, there's maybe not as many of them. How Michael Mayer slipped into the 2nd round is unbelievable.
God, I don't get that whatsoever. I think this guy's going to be a stud. I just don't get it. But you know what? Whatever. He's ours.
With our very first pick, it's hard to do better. Again, I would have preferred that the defensive tackle from Georgia. Fuck the drama, the PR. Take the best player. Number 1, I would have preferred to trade down. It didn't seem like that was an option, so they went with a great edge rusher. Awesome.
They went with a carbon copy of Max.
Mm-hmm. Just value picks up and down. The knocks on this one is they use a lot of premium positions on premium draft spots on like kind of glamour positions we didn't really need when there was really good players available and in positions of need. That was kind of a knock for me. Mm-hmm. But overall, man, I mean, this was the first and also 4 trade ups, no trade downs. I always say it again, GMs, scouts, it's a much bigger crapshoot than I think they give themselves credit for. I think they think people think they're smarter than they are, right? You ask, why are there 1 million people that die in car accidents, but you ask every single person if they're a good driver or not, and they always say, oh yeah, I'm a really good driver. It's like, no, you're just not self-aware. Like if you ask any scout or GM, yeah, I'm a great drafter. There aren't really any, right? There's not, self-awareness isn't a thing. You have to understand that and say, let's just go bodies instead of I know I'm smarter than everybody else. Let me trade up and get it. So those are the only 2 real negatives for me was the trade ups and a lot of offense and premium spots. But when you crush value, it's hard to really go wrong when you crush value. And it's just such a big difference with the last regime where they just had no comprehension of value. It's just like, I'm in love with this guy and I'm going to get him no matter what it takes. It's like, that's not how you do draft.
No, that's not how it works. But I mean, when I did my video on decoding the GM and what he was saying, he did exactly what I said he was going to do. We're not going to pick 12 players. We're going to use the later picks to move up, maybe not in the first round or move back, but we're going to target the guys we want with the pick that we have near there and then use one of the later picks to move up. And that's exactly what we did.
Let's take some questions. Jonathan Huerta. Wilson is 100% a starter over Jones. Easy. I mean, that's optimal.
$20 million says different.
$20 million says different. And again, no guarantee any of these guys pan out. Like, we know what Chandler Jones is. And again, he's an above average starter. He's just way overpaid. That's the problem. Like, we're like, oh, he sucks. No, he doesn't suck. He's a pretty good, he's a decent defensive
tell you
end.
Something right now.
Just overpaid.
With Max, Jones, and Wilson, we will not be in the bottom 3 in sacks again. Not going to happen.
Raider Dave. I really want one of the top linebackers. After Sanders went just before 70, would have taken either Simpson or that guy that the Chargers got. Yeah, we did end up with a pretty big hole at linebacker. I thought we'd come out with like, all right, this guy can be a starter at linebacker. Didn't happen. Chips didn't fall that way. Jonathan Huerta again. Mayer was the best tight end in the draft. He does it all. How is that not a starter? So best tight end in the draft. It's all about scheme, right? Like, Darren Waller would be an atrocious tight end in certain schemes because he can't block, right? I mean, it depends on your scheme. The thing with Mayer is he's great for our scheme, right? He's a Josh McDaniels prototypical tight end. He doesn't need a gazelle like Waller was. He needs a gritty, smarter dude. He needs a blocking guy. He's a guy that can catch dig routes. He needs a guy with great hands. That's Mayer.
Yeah, I see a lot of like we're preparing for 24 and all this other stuff. Look, guys, these guys are looking to win now. These players that they're picking up, they fit roles. I don't care how Michael Mayer fits in the NFL. I don't care how he fits with any other team. On this team, on this offense, this guy can be a star.
Anthony Provencio. I was a little frustrated about the wide receiver pick. I thought we should have got another stud on defense, but we'll see. That was definitely the biggest WTF pick for me, position-wise. The player in the round and the fit was so good that I was like, okay, I think McDaniels just got like, he just started drooling too much. I think that was the biggest McDaniels, like, I want my guy pick. I think that was the one.
I think Tucker, it was more of a Ziegler pick. I think Tucker's from the same hometown as Ziegler is in Ohio. And I think he coached in high school. He coached one of Tucker's coaches from what I heard in the interview that post day 2 was that Tucker's coach, Mick Ziegler, coached when he was a coach in high school. And yeah, man, I think he likes his toughness. He likes his ability. He likes the fact that he was a former wrestler, which I know RJ appreciates.
Greatest man in the world. Lorenzo W. We've drafted 4 defensive tackles the last 2 years. One has to pan out. This is what I've been preaching forever. Volume. Especially like defensive tackle positions where like the metrics are hard to read. Like, a quarterback, there's 1 million stats, wide receiver, 1 million stats, running back, 1 million stats, edge rusher, linebacker, 1 million stats, defensive tackle. It's really, really hard to measure production, right? There's no stat for, I took the center and guard down to the floor and opened up the linebacker. There's no stat for that, right? You don't know how they're going to fit. Volume. But to your point, yes. Hopefully, one of these guys has to stick. Soto, we need DT.
Yeah, man. So look, was it a perfect draft all around? No, but you fit needs, you found value, and look, you walked away with like 2 of the top 18, 20 prospects in the draft. Mm-hmm. I mean, it sounds like a win to me.
William Merchant, dead cap this year in draft class 2024 is our year. Yeah, 30 million right now in dead cap. All of that is gone next season. Now, again, what happens with Jimmy G, what happens with Chandler Jones and any other number of guys, very few people have like a lot of dead cap, or very few players have like a lot of dead cap 2 seasons ahead, right? Mm-hmm. So, Doesn't mean it's going to be 0, but as of right now, it is, which is great. Where does that? Do you know where that ranks? How are we when it comes to dead cap? I feel like there's a lot
Next
of teams.
year or this year?
This year, 30 million.
We're towards the top.
That's pretty high.
Yeah.
Because I know that there's a handful of teams that are like crushing dead, like just brutally bad dead cap.
Well, dead cap is going to get up.
But then I think but then it like pans, it like kind of evens out.
Dead cap is going to change at the second wave of free agency and cut downs. That's where that's going to change.
Ty Davis, is there a package where all three, Max, Wilson, Jones, are all at the same time? Absolutely. There's multiple packages. Bulk of
the time. I would say a lot of the time.
There's multiple packages where they could all play at the same time. Chandler Jones can move into like a
RJ loves packages.
Yeah, big ones.
Hit Boy Radio, what's going on with Josh Jacobs? Well, now is the time where they can start negotiating. They have until June. They have like another month and a half, middle of June, to sign him off that to take off the franchise tag and sign him to a contract. So now is the time after the draft is done. The focus was on that. That's all behind you now. You're just looking to get your undrafted free agents, which you pretty much have done. Get them all signed, get them all in, get them all acclimated, the whole logistical stuff. Rookie camp starts in 2 weeks?
Mm-hmm.
And then, this is the time where they can really hit it and start talking to Jacobs.
Derek Passan said, we haven't had a dope middle linebacker since Romanowski. We didn't change that this weekend, WTF. Did we forget Denzel Perryman was a Pro Bowler? Like, he wasn't perfect. He had like 1 million tackles 2 seasons ago. Like, give the guy a break. Denzel Perryman was one of the best free agency trade moves of the Mayock Gruden era.
He was probably the best trade they did.
A trade for sure. That's the best trade they ever made. It was like a sixth for a fifth or something. Fifth round pick. He was a Pro Bowler for us.
Yeah.
Dude, he struggled in a lot of coverages, but he was a Pro Bowler, got 1 million tackles. Like he was great. He was awesome, especially in Gus Bradley's system.
Yeah, I mean, in the Bradley system for sure. In the Graham system, he needed to be a little bit better in coverage, but I mean, I think that's where Burney comes in. He's a little better in coverage.
He was by far the best trade of the Gruden-Mayock era. Was he the best acquisition of the Gruden-Mayock era? Non-draft? That's got to be Waller. Yeah, it has to be Waller. As bad as the Gruden-Mayock
pickup, yeah, probably.
As bad as the Gruden-Mayock.
Was that a Mayock, or that was just Gruden that first year?
I
think it was the just Gruden first
Waller?
year. Yeah. It wasn't Mayock. It was just Gruden. It was before Mayock got there.
Dude, that second Waller contract, unbelievable. 18th highest paid tight end, and he was putting up like top 3 numbers.
Terrible
on that contract, man. Like that. As bad as Gruden was with personnel, you have to give him credit for like seeing him on the Baltimore practice squad, grabbing him, and then giving a 4-year deal, like 6 games into the first season. It's like, oh yeah, let's give you a 4-year deal. Yeah, we're gonna keep you around a while. Fucking back-to-back Pro Bowls on like a middling contract
with some shit like that.
Again, Gruden was atrocious with the roster, but you credit where credit's due. That Waller move was.
Look, man, when you close your eyes and swing for the fences, you're gonna hit the ball every once
now and then, right? Every now and then you're gonna hit it. A broken clock is right twice a day, and Darren Waller was our broken clock.
Oh yeah.
Derek Passanti went into the free agency with the worst secondary in the league. Post free agency and post draft, we still absolutely have the worst secondary in the league. Do we have the worst secondary in the league?
You can't say that. No, the Lions have a way worse secondary than us. The Lions are way worse secondary than us. You can't say that, Derek. We got some pieces. Epps, we got Duke, Shelley. If we sign Rock Yassin back, we have Hobbs
healthy.
Hobbs healthy. I mean,
was last season just a hiccup for Merrick, right? Like is Merrick, like I'm not giving up on Merrick yet. Fuck no.
Yeah, I can understand where you're coming from with the frustration, but it's just we're saying a lot of things that you can't quantify. Oh yeah, this is going to be the worst, this and that. I'm like, yeah, leave the hot takes for like the TV shows. Like, this is us here, okay? This is us. We're talking about real football here.
Cloned Avenger. Can Aidan O'Connell grow his hair out and grow a beard or something? No.
Men of God don't grow
No.
beards, bro.
He's perfect. He's a perfect specimen. Look. Sorry, but this is what peak male athleticism looks like. That is the peak human physical physique and look right there. Aidan O'Connell and Farva, a.k.a. Landfill.
God,
AKA
that's so
Kevin
good.
Heffernan.
As soon as I saw his picture,
That's what a
I'm
real
like,
man looks
oh
like.
my God.
It's just, dude, it's uncanny.
It's all that is man.
It's uncanny. I
Karamrad.
love it. Say Renrod. Shenanigans? Talking about shenanigans? Gotcha, fucker. All right, that's it for us. Yeah, special Sunday show. Had to do it after the draft. We'll do a lot more analysis on our big show coming up. Any other news that's happening throughout the Josh Jacobs movement, whatever happens there, we'll keep you abreast of everything.
Yeah, meow that we can sign him. That the draft is over. We can sign him. Meow.
So this will be a time also for very big moves. Like it's things to start moving up. You know what I mean? Like when the draft's over, it feels like it's a chance to like kind of like let your hair down and like breathe a little bit. Like, no, it's the opposite. Like this is where things start gearing up. The NFL offseason is a slow build, right? It's a slow build. You got like free agency starts, then you got the combine and the draft and then training camp. Like businesses start picking up.
Yeah.
Hope you're there with us.
Meow that the draft is over is this the time where you're.
Did you say meow that the draft is over?
Did I say that?
A Freudian slip? I think you said meow that the draft is over.
Am I a cat? You see me drinking a saucer of milk, jumping around all mimily bimily?
You treat a tree? I'm drinking milk from a saucer.
Look, meow is the time where we implement our strategy, where we get them in here, we start getting them stronger, we start getting them healthier, and we get them on the field and really get them indoctrinated to what we do.
Well, until then, knock on wood if you're with me.